and today we're going to be taking a look at the Ryobi P238 brushless impact driver. So let's get started. Starting off at the bottom of the tool, we have the 18-volt battery slot. Moving upward, we have an extra bit holder. On newer models, this has been removed, which is a stupid decision and one I hope Ryobi regrets and reverses later on. Moving upward, we have a magnet that you can use to store extra bits or screws. On newer models, this has also gone the way of the Dodo, which is a stupid decision. They should have installed a rare earth magnet instead, so it would have been even more useful, but whatever. Moving upward, we have the grip, variable speed trigger, and the forward/reverse/locking selector switch. And there is nothing other than air vents on the top of the tool. On the front of the tool, we have the tri-LED lights, which will illuminate the area in front of the tool fairly well. The lights will be activated by pulling the trigger. You do not need to activate the motor in order for the lights to turn on. The lights will remain lit for about 10 seconds after the trigger is released. And in front of the tri-LEDs, we have the 1/4 inch auto load chuck for fast and easy one-handed bit changes, aka the bit launcher. You'll spend hours of enjoyment launching bits onto the floor or at coworkers, or it'll be a painful experience which you'll learn to hate and despise, or you might enjoy it. Either way, it's an interesting feature. And last but not least, on the rear of the tool, we have the 3-speed selection switch, 1 being low and 3 being high. The tool weighs 1,956 grams with a 4 amp hour battery, a bit holder, and a bit. And the tool weighs 1,213 grams with no batteries or bits. Last but not least, this unit also came with a belt clip, which I do not currently have installed. The variable speed trigger has about 7 different speeds. The definition between the different speeds is fairly good. I don't think it's the best in the world, but it's not the worst either. I feel like the last speed, or the high speed, engages a little bit too early. I think if it engaged a little bit later, there'd be more definition between the different speeds, so it'd be easier to use the different speeds, but overall not a bad experience. The tool's trigger feels nice and firm. It doesn't feel spongy or gummy, and there's very little wiggle to either side. So overall, plus there. And the forward and reverse selector switch is also very easy to put into the lock position, and I don't think you're going to have much problems accidentally bumping it. So overall, the design on the trigger system on this tool is very positive. The impact function does a good job of keeping the bit inside the screw head, and overall I saw very little egging or jumping. So it's definitely a plus in this category. I have a Makita impact driver that isn't as good as this one is by any means, and we'll review that another time. But overall, the impact function on this tool is good. Except for the one screw in the video that the driver wouldn't work on because it was egged out, but that wasn't the driver's fault. The driver did a good job of putting these screws directly into the wood using a 5/16 inch bit, and overall it did it in a pretty quick and timely manner, so definitely another win in the category for this impact driver. On its lowest power mode, the driver was able to drill multiple 1/16 inch holes, and quite frankly, I was expecting it to break the bit, and it didn't. So overall, in the low power category, another win for it. Don't expect to be able to drill too much or go too much smaller than this, but it's still nice to be able to drill some tiny holes without having to go find a regular drill, as long as you have the right bits. Now I wanted to see how much power it had on speed 1, and I wanted to see if it would be able to drill into the wood completely without engaging the impact mode. So I went ahead and I took a bit that's bigger than most exterior wood screws would need, and I drilled into the wood. I was able to make it all the way into the wood without the impact mode engaging. So overall, I think this is definitely a plus if you're planning on doing any kind of drilling with this impact driver. So another win for it. Now for a 1/2 inch test. Now in the first speed gear, I really was not able to make any progress using a 1/2 inch bit. And it just would start to stall out and just start engaging the impact function. So in the first gear, it just is not very useful for using 1/2 inch bits. In the second gear, you'll be able to make it further than in the first gear, but you're still not going to be able to make it that much further before stalling. So second gear is not really useful for 1/2 inch bits either. Now in speed mode 3, it did make it all the way through the board, but it used the impact function the entire time. So just be aware that if you are planning on using a 1/2 inch size twist bit with this impact driver. And using a 1 inch paddle bit, I was able to drill 4 consecutive holes. By the time I was done, the impact driver was starting to get warm, and it did use the impact function the entire time while drilling these holes, but it didn't do a bad job, and it did it quickly. Now, I would drill more holes, but with the way lumber prices are, and since I'm not a billionaire, I really can't afford to drill multiple holes and still do other tests with this piece of wood. You get the idea. Now to test exterior screws, and I'll bet the board will split since I mentioned lumber prices. Bingo! Well, moving on. The impact driver did a good job of driving in 3-inch exterior screws into the wood on speed mode number 2, and did a good job of removing them as well. So overall, it did fine with 3-inch screws. And it did a good job putting a 4-inch exterior screw into the wood. The only issue was putting it in too deep, and that was the operator's fault. So overall, it did a good job with all the exterior screws, and I can recommend it for putting screws into wood like it's supposed to. And it does a good job of removing them as well. Now let's talk a little bit more about the specs. Ryobi claims that it can deliver 4,000 impacts per minute and up to 2,200 inch-pounds of torque. And in speed mode number 1, it can deliver up to 1,050 RPMs. And in speed mode number 2, it can deliver up to 2,200 RPMs. And last but not least, in the speed mode number 3, or the high mode, it can deliver up to 3,200 RPMs. But my guess is that the only way to actually achieve those specifications is by using this with one of Ryobi's bigger batteries. Say, I don't know, the 18 volt 1 plus 9 amp hour high capacity battery, the P194 battery from Ryobi with a price tag of $159, which is more than what I'm usually willing to pay for a battery. So unless I find a really good deal on one, that's probably not going to happen. Okay, let's talk about the pros and cons of this impact driver. And pro number 1, brushless. It's brushless, so you get all the benefits of it being brushless. The lighter weight, the more power, you know the drill by now. Or in this case, impact driver. 18 volt. 18 volt in my opinion is about the perfect size for most drills and impact tools, or just hand power tools in general. Yes, there are benefits of having more powerful tools and there are benefits of having less powerful tools, but I think 18 volt is the perfect middle ground for most power tools. Magnetic tray. I love the magnetic tray on this impact driver. It is so useful for storing screws, bits, or other things or metal that you might need, and I really am a fan of it. In fact, that's the main reason why I opted to buy this over one of Ryobi's newer models, which coincidentally don't have the magnetic tray anymore. I think this is a huge mistake. What they should have done, other than instead of removing it, is to upgrade it to a rare earth magnet and make it even better. But some penny pincher somewhere at Ryobi probably decided that, hey, we can save a few cents if we opt to remove it and replace it with some weak, pathetic, useless LED light. So, Ryobi, if you ever are listening or watch this video, please bring back the magnetic trays. Bit holder. I love the bit holder probably more than I love the magnetic tray, and I use this every single time I use the tool because I'm always needing to switch between two different kinds of screws, and it's just so useful to have. Now, this also is going the way of the dinosaur, and this is another shame. Honestly, I'm not sure who's making these decisions at Ryobi, but they probably need to either go back to school or get fired, because these are really stupid decisions. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit irritated by this. But this driver still has it, so that was another reason why I bought this one. Powerful motor. The motor in this is fairly powerful, and it was able to handle anything that I threw at it. It's not as good as the top-of-the-line stuff from DeWalt or Milwaukee, but it'll honestly be able to handle anything that the average homeowner is able to throw at it, and probably anything that the unaverage homeowner will be able to throw at it. And for the price, you really can't beat it, so in my opinion, this is definitely a pro. Unload chuck. At first, I wasn't a very big fan of it, and it took a little while to get used to, but once you get used to it and learn its quirks, it's definitely useful, and it's definitely something that you'll miss once you switch over to another tool that doesn't have it. So in my book, it's definitely a pro. Good LEDs. I'm definitely a fan of the LEDs on this impact driver, and I think they do a good job. I've used a lot of tools that don't have very good LEDs or no LEDs, and they're definitely useful to have. Is it as good as a dedicated work light or flashlight? No, but that's not really the purpose of them, and they do a good job of illuminating the area directly in front of the tool. So in my opinion, this is definitely a pro for the tool. And there really is no mehs today for this tool. And about the only con is the size. It is a little bit bigger than the latest and greatest from DeWalt or Milwaukee, but it's not really that big of a deal in my opinion, and I was able to get into most of the places I need to. Is it going to be able to fit into all the places that one of the newest from the Milwaukee or DeWalt can? No, but it doesn't really need to. And there are other options if you need something smaller, so in my opinion, it's really not that big of a deal. In summary, I think this is a fantastic impact driver at a great price. I was able to pick mine up for about $55 on clearance, and I've had zero regrets. And I would probably actually pay more now that I've used it for a little while, knowing how good it is. Is it the newest from Ryobi? No. Is it as good as the newest from Ryobi? I would actually debate that it is. Since this impact driver still has the magnetic tray and bit holder, I'd say it's as good as the newest generation of impact tools from Ryobi. Now, the newer impact tools might last longer, but honestly, the average homeowner will probably never wear out a single impact drill or driver, so it's one of those things that I would rather have the useful bonus features like the magnetic tray and bit holder than the newest and latest and greatest. Because honestly, the whole reason why I bought this impact driver was for the magnetic tray and bit holder, and because it was brushless and it was Ryobi. And I already have a bunch of other Ryobi stuff, and it's become my go-to tool. So would I recommend it? Heck yeah! I'd recommend this to anybody. It's been great for around the yard and around the house, and it's definitely one of my favorite tools now. So highly recommended. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. See you next time.